In this demonstration, we're now going to go about configuring Azure Backup, and then we're going to backup and restore a Windows VM. So let's head over to the Azure portal to begin. Alright, in the Azure portal you can see I've already created a virtual machine, SL Backup VM01. This is just a Windows 2016 VM that we're going to use to simulate our backup a little bit later on. Nothing special yet, just a VM we've built from the marketplace. So to begin, let's go ahead and create a resource and type in backup. And we get Backup and Site Recovery OMS, select that one. And this is where we can create our Recovery Services Vault. So we go ahead and click Create, and we'll give it a name, so we'll call it SL-Recovery Vault. Choose our subscription, choose our resource group, so I'm going to use SL-Recovery for this one, and then our location, which I'm going to put in East US for the purposes of this demo, and that's also where I put my virtual machine. So go ahead and click Create. This sets up the vault for you, and it's pretty quick. Should only take a few seconds, hopefully, to complete this. And that's completed. Let's go ahead to that resource, and we can see our Recovery Services Vault. And currently nothing is being backed up because we obviously just created this vault. You'll see on the top that we have these options for backup and replicate. So we're going to do backup first of all. You'll see replicate in some of the site recovery options later on as well. But go ahead and click backup. And once you're in there, you'll see the first option is where is your workload running. So you get to choose between Azure or on-premises. And I'll just show you the on-premises options quickly. We're going to use one of them in the other demo. But when you choose on-premises and you select, okay, what do you want to back up? If it's files or folders, select that and click prepare infrastructure. You'll see that you get the option to download the Recovery Services agent. That's the Mars agent that I mentioned in the tutorial section, and then vault credentials and various other things that you'll see in the upcoming demo. But if we select this drop down again, you can see if I select like VMware Virtual Machines and click prepare infrastructure, you'll see I get options here for using System Center DPM or Azure Backup Server. Also mentioned both of those in the tutorial. We're not going to cover those in this course, but it's worth just knowing that those options are there if you need to get to them, because Microsoft will expect you to know what the different recovery options are. So hopefully this makes it more visual for you. If we go back though to virtual machines, so we go to Azure and then select virtual machine because we want to back up our virtual machine that's hosted in Azure. Click backup, and then we get on to the next section, which is to choose our backup policy. So there is a default policy which backs up daily at 2 p.m. and a default retention range. But if we go ahead and select this drop down, you can create your own backup policy. And this is one of the things I actually love about Azure Backup, because it's made backup very, very simple for us. You know, I can go in here and choose a policy. We'll call it SL policy. And then I can choose my backup frequency. So maybe I want to back up at night instead. So we'll go down to like, maybe 10 p.m. Make sure to set your appropriate time zone, obviously. So if we go to Central Time as an example, so 10 p.m. Central Time, so in Chicago, that would be backed up. And then I get my different retention ranges as well. So you can see there, at 10 p.m. it's going to keep 180 days of that daily backup point. Here's my weekly backup point. We're going to keep that for 104 weeks. And I can choose to toggle this on or off if I want to. So if I don't want to configure retention of that weekly point, and I'm good with just the dailies and the monthly that comes in, that's fine. But I can keep that weekly, so I know that's there. Same for the monthly, all the way down to yearly. And I can click OK once I'm happy with that. And then we go into the items to backup. So I've only got one virtual machine running right now, so I'll select that one, select virtual machines 1, select OK. It'll validate that, and then you basically enable backup. And that'll take probably a minute or so to complete, and we'll begin backing up at the next cycle for you. So if we go over to that, I'll just fast forward here for a moment and head over to the virtual machine. Okay, so here we're on the virtual machine. I'm going to scroll down and you'll see that you have an option under operations called backup. Simply select that and you will see that this VM is now under backup via Azure Backup. And you can see that it's past the backup pre-check, but there's an initial backup pending. And if we want to, we can go ahead and simply select backup now. You can see there you also have the option to stop backup if you want to remove it completely from backup. We'll go ahead and select backup now. And we'll retain that one, whatever date you want to give it. Simply select OK. and that's going to trigger the backup process and back up that virtual machine. So again, I'm going to fast forward here. That's going to take a bit of time for it to complete the backup, and then we'll come back to it when it's completed. Alright, so as we can see on the backup job screen, the backup for SL backup VM01 was completed. If I go back up to the virtual machine, so we'll head back to SL backup VM01, and you can see there backup status, last backup status, success, and you can see at the bottom there also that it's in an application consistent status. Now, if I want to, I can choose to recover the whole VM, so I can click Restore VM. And this is where I choose my restore points. I'll select that application consistent restore point, select OK, and then I can choose how I want to restore that virtual machine. So I have a few options. I can restore the disks, or I can create a virtual machine. So I can give it a new virtual machine name. So I can call it SL recovered VM. Choose the resource group. I can put it in the same resource group if I want to, same network, etc. Go ahead and select OK. And then click restore, and that will now begin restoring another copy of that virtual machine. So the original one is still running, but we're restoring an additional one with a different name. Now I can also, if I wish, do file recovery on that virtual machine. So I can select file recovery, grab this, select my restore points. Again, I've only got the one that I just did recently. And then I can download script to browse and recover files. So I can click this, download this executable. And then I essentially get this script that I can open up. I'll just save it on my desktop for the moment. And open folder. And essentially it's an application file that you can run inside the virtual machine you are backing up, and it will mount essentially the file system from that machine. And just like you'll see in the upcoming Mars Agent demo, it essentially mounts a drive for you, and you can then browse the files on that machine itself. But we'll go back to the portal here for the moment, and we'll come out of the section, and we'll go ahead and look at the job for recovery. So if we click View All Jobs, we can see that restore job is in operation, and we'll come back to that when that's completed. Okay, and after a while, looks like this one took about 25 minutes. That restore has been completed. We can select that job, and on the right hand side we can see, if we scroll down, we transferred data from the vault and it created the restored machine. If I scroll back up, I can see that target VM name is SL-recovered VM. So I can go ahead and go over to my virtual machines, and I should see now that I have a recovered VM. There it is, SL-recovered VM, and that essentially is my restore of the SL backup VM01. So the same as that Windows 2016 image that I created from the marketplace, we've just done it now as a recovery instead. So hopefully that kind of makes it clear how easy it is to back up and restore in Azure, particularly IaaS virtual machines. Super easy to get up and running again. And that concludes this demonstration.